Before we jump into today's video, I just want to let you know that this video series is also available in podcast formats. I actually strip the audio from the video and put it up on my podcast, Authentic and Unapologetic. The podcast episodes also come out earlier than these videos, so you get access to them earlier in the morning, just in time for your Tuesday morning commute. So if you don't have time to sit down, watch this entire video, or you need to get up and do something else, go ahead and search on your favorite podcast platform, Authentic and Unapologetic, and I should be the #1 search. Or just check out the description box down below where I've provided all of the links for you. So no matter where you want to listen to this content, be it the audio or the video, you can feel free to do so at your own leisure. Hi friends, this is Editing Chloe from the future, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm so sorry. This is a new light setup to me that I thought I had like perfect, but listen, it's Mercury retrograde. It started the day that I started filming this. Things were bound to go wrong, and the star projector that I'm using is on my face in like all of the video. And so if that's really like distracting or annoying, feel free to head to the links for just the audio of the podcast, because I feel like I was getting annoyed just while editing. So just letting you know that there's other ways to listen to these channeled messages, and I'm really sorry. I promise in the next video I will make that better, but I hope you enjoy anyways. Hi friends, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a few tips for starseeds and lightworkers and how you can kind of navigate this earthly plane a little bit easier. They might just be a few messages that you need to hear. It was actually very funny. This morning I sat down and I thought I had this podcast all written up for you all. And as it turns out, last week I actually deleted it and was like, oh, I'm going to scrap it and I'm going to rewrite it. And then I never got to it. So this morning, because I had forgotten, hello Mercury retrograde. Today it actually starts. The day I'm filming this is the day that Mercury retrograde starts. But I sat down with my own galactic family, with my own guides, and I said, what do you need the collective to hear today? What messages are going to be helpful? And these are the 6 downloads that I received to help you on your path. So this isn't going to be one of those videos where I express to you like, are you a starseed? That is something I want to do in the future, but today's video is really just going to focus on the 6 downloads that I have received, and that I feel like they're just messages that you as a light worker, as a starseed, maybe need to hear right now. So that is what I have for you. And I do want to say that this is not like the only message you will ever need. This is not the only information out there. There are so many channels that focus on starseed and lightwork information. I am by no means an expert. It's just something that I really feel that I'm being pushed to start sharing a little bit more of, along with my tarot card readings and some of my personal content. So I hope that you'll enjoy this, whether you're watching the video or listening to the podcast. If you are doing either or, I will link the corresponding down below. So if you didn't know, obviously, well, I think I already talked about it in the beginning, so I don't need to talk about it again, but let's go ahead and get into these 6 downloaded messages. The first download that I received is that if you are a lightworker and a starseed, you are not here because you're meant to follow everyone else. You are here to actually forge a brand new path forward. You are here because you are a leader in your own right, and you will recognize if this message is for you, because you might find that the mainstream media doesn't really talk about topics in the way that you would, and you're somebody that's deeply passionate about certain topics. So let me kind of give you an example. That is how a lot of my teaching is I use my own personal references. Some people hate that about my content and some people love it. There's nowhere I can just go to school for galactic information. So that's all I really have is life experience and also what I learned from others online. But for myself with this, the best example I can give you is I am someone that believes in radical empathy. I believe that empathy is not just for people that we see suffering or feel suffering. It is for people that are also inflicting the suffering or inflicting the pain. So an example of that is the other day I was at the grocery store with my husband. This is a very silly example, but this man rushed past us with his cart, nearly knocking into us. And my husband's first response was to get kind of upset. And I said, Andrew, my husband's name is Andrew. Andrew, give him empathy because you have no idea what he's going through. Of course, doesn't mean it gives you the right to be an asshole, but when you believe in radical empathy, you really have to understand that empathy isn't just for me, the person who got ran into because this person was being careless or they were in a rush, or it could have been a multitude of things. For all I know, their wife could have been in labor, and to me, they had every right to be in a rush. So it's giving that person empathy too, recognizing that we all have those experiences where we make careless mistakes. We accidentally cut someone off online, or we intentionally on the road, we intentionally cut them off. We run into somebody at like full speed at the grocery store because we're rushing. Empathy is for both parties. And that is something that I really try my best to align my life with is radical empathy. I try my best, and I'm not perfect, I'm human, but I do my best to show empathy even in situations where it's very, very hard. Another example of that is having empathy in my online space. Of course, when you put yourself online, you are opening yourself up to a multitude of scrutiny, especially when authenticity is like your biggest core value, like mine is. That authenticity is how I really lead my online presence. And of course, that opens you up to so much online scrutiny from others. And I always have to remind myself, even when somebody says very mean, hurtful things to me, I allow myself to feel through those things, ask myself what this opportunity is teaching me, and just try to express empathy for that person. Now, again, I'm human. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. We do still have to be a part of the 3D and the human experience. But that's just kind of some examples for myself, I feel like, as a thought leader. And this is not new. A lot of people believe in radical empathy, but I feel like it's something that we are not teaching enough in the media. And it's something that I'm so passionate about that I haven't quite figured out how I want to share more content about radical empathy, but it's something that I feel like is just not talked about enough. So that's something that I know in my neck of the woods, I want to continue to forge that forward. I want to continue to share that information. And I even mentioned it on my Instagram a few days ago, and there were so many responses from you that were like, wow, that's really big and brave of you to take that approach. That's something that I have a hard time with. And I feel like ultimately it's because we all kind of are taught this idea that this person's wrong and you're correct, and because they did you wrong or dirty, which again, not saying that we can't have empathy for you too, but it's empathy for everyone. And there's so much more to it than that. But anyways, I'm droning on and on and on. But the important part is that you have ideas about how things work that don't really fit the normal of society. And you have those ideas because you are here to lead those things in the consciousness. You are someone that is supposed to help implant those ideas in so that we can go forward on this galactic mission that we are currently in to seed light into the earth, especially if you're a light worker, and really up-level the consciousness. I believe, and I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it, I believe in my lifetime I will see world peace. I really do. I think that we have that full capacity. And even though it seems like we are leading down a path of destruction right now, we kind of have to see a lot of this happen so our great leaders can rise up. So we as individuals that have different ideals about how human connection should be and how we can stop destructing, we kind of have to see how ugly it can get in some regards. Now, anyways, that's end of that download. I feel like I'm getting into like 8 side stories, but you get the point. You're here to be a leader and you needed to be reminded of that. The next download that I received for you is that you are someone that you need to connect a little bit more to your heart center. because love really is the highest frequency at which we can attune ourselves to. Love is for everyone. It's not just for some people. And when we attune ourselves to the frequency of love, it allows us to tap into that self-validation, that storage that we have of our own ability to give ourselves the full amount of love that we feel like we deserve from others or we want from others. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be an island in of yourself that doesn't have love or doesn't have love coming from anybody outside of you. But ultimately, the huge message that I received with this download is that you need to open yourself up to loving yourself more, and whatever that means for you. For some people, that is going to be taking time away from social media and doing something just because you like it. It's going to be talking with a therapist. It's going to be drawing a bath and sitting around with your crystals. It's going to be crying over your open journal, writing out your feelings, pouring out your heart into it, doing the shadow work. But ultimately, the download that I received is that we need to, instead of asking and screaming for love to come from outside of us, from a partner, from a family member, from a friendship circle, we need to start grounding that idea within ourselves first. And the frequency of love, it is for everyone. Kind of like with radical empathy, it is for everyone. There is not a single person on this planet that you don't have the capacity to have self-love, have self-validation. No matter how much trauma you've experienced, no matter how much somebody has pushed you into the ground and told you not to believe in yourself, not to love yourself. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit choked up about this. Obviously, that strikes a chord with me. No matter what somebody else has done to you or does to you on a daily basis that puts you in this state of mind that you are unlovable, please know that you have that capacity to give it to yourself. Everybody does. You just can't see it because it has been snuffed out and buried by layers and layers and layers of what others have programmed you to believe about yourself. And the more you start to question that and connect with the divinity and the inner love that you already have, the more you're going to start to see it reflect from everybody around you. And I am living, standing, breathing proof of this. I promise you, I know exactly what that feels like. Even in like a recent vlog, I kind of started to cry because I was talking about some stuff that really was traumatic for me in my life that I hadn't really worked through and I'm currently still working through. And we are programmed from so early on to believe all these things about ourselves that frankly are just not the truth. And now is your time to start working through those things, working through who you want to be in the world and how you choose, and how you choose to show up every day. And it's called work because it's work. I will say that until I am turned over in the grave. It is called work because it's work. It's not meant to be, you took a bath last week and that was your self-care and now you're good for 6 months. It's a constant process that has to be worked through. And on top of that, your galactic family is here to support you. Your fellow Lightworkers are here to support you. Literally, all you have to do is sit. You could even just put your hands directly over your heart space like this. And just ask, just be still and ask for contact from your galactic family, for support. There is so much support from ancestors, from your galactic families. You are so much more than this one lifetime that you've experienced currently where you are. The third download that I received for you is that many of you are really struggling right now, especially kind of piggybacking off of that last download. Many of you are struggling to set boundaries because you're in highly codependent relationships. And this is nothing to feel shame about. I feel like our society actually perpetuates this idea that we should all be in codependent relationships without even really realizing it. And so with this, we are having to slowly learn what codependency looks like and how we can move away from it and how we can actually start to become our own pillars of light without that codependency. And it's funny because it's not funny. It's very serious, actually. It's very serious, actually, is that Oftentimes that can be a tip-off of codependency when you are trying to get validation from a partner, a friend, a family circle. When you can't look inside yourself and validate who you are and what you're doing. I'm not saying that that makes you codependent, but I feel like that can kind of be a tip off that you might have some codependent attachments with others. And it's not your fault. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to tell you that everything you've done is wrong and that this is all your fault and you need to just move on from these codependent habits. It's no, you've literally probably been conditioned to be codependent because you've witnessed it in parental figures, in people that were your teachers or your mentors growing up, kind of exuded this same behavior. And I can say that in my own life, very much so. Oh my gosh, where I have come from, there is codependency out the wing-wom. And it took me years and years and years and years, even in my own relationship with my partner, years to understand where I was doing things that were highly destructive in my relationship, where I had no boundaries, where I was relying on my partner to fill up my entire well instead of doing that myself. And it's not something that you just transform it overnight and it's going to be so different tomorrow. It's learning more about yourself. I think another download that kind of is coming in as I'm talking about this is many of you don't know yourselves. You don't allow yourself the time to, and I'm feeling this feeling of like, ooh, that was a gut punch for some of you. Some people don't like what I'm saying right now, and that's okay. Maybe this message is not for you, but I'm really getting this strong message that many of you literally don't know yourselves. You don't know what you stand for. You don't know what spirituality practices speak to you. You don't know what things interest you. You don't know what your hobbies are because you're so invested in your relationships and taking care of everyone else outside of you, and there's no boundary. And it is because you are so loving is what I'm hearing. You are so loving and considerate of other people that it actually causes you harm because there are no boundaries. But at the same time, you're also getting something out of it. And this is where I feel like this gets really messy and tangled is yes, you're doing things that are good, where you're caring for others, you're loving on others, you're being supporting of others, but you're also expecting that in return, or you have been conditioned to believe that you have to be good in some way. And because of that, you are feeding into this, I have to be good, and this is how I get that reward. This is how I get that dopamine hit of people accepting me, validating me, loving me, is by being this way. And so the download that I really received is many of you need to start practicing just better boundaries with the people that are in your life, better boundaries and learning more about yourself and who you actually are, because many of you have not quite woken up to that. Many of you have not taken the time to really ask yourself, why do I believe this way? Why do I agree with this thing? And always question everything. Even what I'm saying to you right now, don't take this like it is the gospel. Like, take what resonates and leave the rest and question everything. I encourage you to question everything, because ultimately that is going to lead you down a path of more independence and more self-validation and less codependency. And I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, so I don't really feel like currently I am in a space where I want to go on a whole thread on codependency, but please just recognize that many of you might even want to like run a Google search on what is codependency and like signs of codependency, and just see if you're doing those things. Because on top of that, this is not done, I'm sorry, more channeling. Something else that I'm really hearing is many of you, specifically with your partners, are expecting too much. You're asking them to be someone for you. Now, granted, we don't want our loved ones to destruct. There is a point where sometimes we need to step in and offer to help and offer to pull them out and offer to be somebody that is alongside them for the journey. But if they're making choices that just aren't in alignment with your spiritual beliefs, if they're making choices that aren't in alignment with how you operate and it's not hurting anyone physically or mentally, it's time to step back and ask yourself why that person in your life needs to be something for you. and really sit with that idea. Because many of us, I feel like, are still falling into those pitfalls, and they're not helping us. They're not here. Your partner is not here to fulfill your every whim, and your partner is not here for your pure enjoyment, happiness, or to save you. And I think many of you, it's not something like you need to break up over this, but it's this, there's just some new boundaries that need to be established, and you have to turn it around and start giving to yourself. Another download in that same thread that I received on boundaries is, please know that boundaries are not walls. Many people hear about boundaries and they put up all these walls that don't really allow other people to come into their life. And I would know, I've been there many times. Boundaries are not supposed to be walls that keep everybody out. They are supposed to be kind of fluid in the sense that they allow your loving, supportive system to come through, but they don't allow this destruction of who you are. So boundaries can be kind of a little bit more fluid. They don't have to be something that is so, this is the wall, don't cross it, you know? So just keep that in mind when you're setting boundaries, that it doesn't have to be so rigid. Obviously, take care of yourself, protect yourself, be supportive of yourself and what you need, but don't build walls. The fourth download that I received is that you need to fill up your cup first. And this is something I talk about on my channel in general. So I was kind of surprised that it came out as a download, but here we are. Many of you are feeling the weight of the world right now because you are Lightworkers, you are Starseeds, you have come here with another mission, a bigger mission that is to shift the collective unconscious into a new way of being and into the new earth. And so when we do that, we often will take upon, especially my empathic people and my highly sensitive people, we will take on all of these emotions from the world, or we see destruction in the world and it is devastating. And you just feel so lost and stuck, like you are helpless and you can't do anything to help anyone, and everything feels too intense. And that should be a huge opportunity for you to realize that you need to do more for you. Recently, my human is coming out now. Recently, I watched the documentary, The Social Dilemma. I highly encourage anybody who's listening to this video to watch this documentary on Netflix. It was all about how, like, all of these like ex-presidents and stuff of social media talked about how dangerous and detrimental to our mental health that social media is, and how everything is misconstrued. And I feel like it was really in tandem with the galactic mission, with the New Earth mission, and with even shifting from the 3D into the 5D. It was very much on par with that, in the sense that there was this huge chunk of this documentary where it talked about this divide. We have left wing and right wing. We have red and we have blue, especially those of you in America. We have, you know, all of this stuff that is happening because we have all of this stuff being projected at us that is saying, no, believe this way. No, believe this way. Oh, you're this kind of person, so I'm going to advertise this to you because it's going to hook you in. And advertisers will make more money that way. So we are almost being programmed, or we are being programmed by what we're seeing in social media. And so when I talk about filling your own cup up, many of you just need this message that you need to start setting better boundaries with how you deal with social media. For myself, I will give you some examples of what I have started doing. I don't have a Facebook. I would encourage every single person to delete their Facebook. It is not a place where you're going to get accurate news. It is not a place where nothing good is coming out of Facebook. Like, even if you look at the vibration of Facebook, in my opinion, it is not a wholesome place. It is not somewhere that I would recommend anybody be spending their time. I have an administrative page that's like private that I use, but I have no friends on it. I don't do any shopping on it. I don't connect with anybody on it. I don't even ever check it. I haven't had a Facebook in, I want to say, at least a couple of years. So Facebook is like absolutely no bueno. I would encourage everybody to walk off that platform. The other thing is, even with Twitter, currently my Twitter is deactivated. I don't know if I'm going to reactivate it. I haven't decided. I don't want anybody to try to impersonate me, so I feel like I should keep the account and just not use it. And then with Instagram, I'm at the point where I have taken it off my home screen. only use it when I'm uploading new posts or when I have something important to share or something that I feel creatively I want to share. I've also limited, unless I'm posting, I am not allowed to be on Instagram for more than 20 minutes a day, which is, to me, already seems like a lot. But I feel like you'd be surprised if you check your screen time, how much time is dialed into social media. And I went through my YouTube and I unsubscribed from over 50 channels, people that I just don't watch, or I'll put them on in the background and I'm not really paying attention, but it's just kind of there, even, subconsciously programming me in some kind of way. So I just have really detoxed the social media in my life. And the craziest part about this, and I'm saying this because I do feel like some of you need to hear it and it might be very relatable to how you deal with social media, or it might be some good tips for you. I used to tell myself that if I'm not on social media, I'm going to be disconnected from everyone because I don't really have a lot of personal relationships. And because we have the Rona right now, we're also not seeing people in person, right? So I don't really have a lot of like in-person relationships. I've been virtual since I was in middle school now, or probably like early high school. Actually, no, it was middle school for me because I used to write fan fiction on a forum in middle school. So since middle school, I have been online trying to get that validation from comments, from posts, from things like that. And so I feel like a lot of my relationships are online. And so I would always tell myself, if I'm not online, I'm going to be disconnected and nobody's going to be, but you know what I've realized? All the people that are important to me, I talk to them all the time without social media. And I also would tell myself this lie that I'm going to be bored. If I'm not on social media, I'm going to be bored. And how stupid is that? Like they said it perfectly in The Social Dilemma that when we use social media like a digital pacifier for us to soothe our boredom, our emotions, whatever they might be, I would much rather spend my time learning how to garden, something I'm really terrible at. I would rather spend my time getting back into painting. I would rather spend my time reading books, physical books. I say physical books because I feel like the less technology, the better. But if you have a Kindle, like I'm sure that's fine. Just really connecting more. Spirit said, bitch, you're getting off topic. In any case, just really minimizing that use of social media, because ultimately you're feeling the weight of the world because you're very connected to the world. And so the more you can kind of pull yourself offline, and we tell each other this lie that we also need to be informed all the time, and we don't. I actually think it is in our worst interest to be informed at all times. And even if you gave yourself time each week to catch up on news, if it meant that much to you, then do that. But stick to those boundaries, because many of you that are feeling all of that weight, you're allowing too much of it in. And so you need to also establish boundaries with outside forces as well, with social media, with the news. Don't even watch the news. I would also encourage anybody who is watching this video, stop watching the news. I think Ralph Smart really said it the best. It's the tell lies vision, right? It's the television. It's the tell lies vision. All it does is tell lies to your vision. Don't watch the news. Cancel your cable subscription. You don't even need it, I promise. In this digital age, you really don't need cable. Everything comes to Netflix anyway, and you can watch it without advertisement. The fifth download that I received is that many of you are master manifestors, and you need to be using that power and that potential because it's extremely potent. And many of you that stumbled across this message, your ability to actually create your life into existence is much easier than you're making it, and you're the only person that's in your own way. All you need to do is open yourself up to the possibility of, what if it didn't have to be so hard? What if building was the easiest thing I've ever done? What if creating this thing was the easiest thing I've ever done? And then move in the universe accordingly in line with that. So that one was kind of a smaller download, but please just be aware. I really do believe if you're on this video and you're hearing this message and you've made it this far into the video, you are a master manifester. There is no person that's going to teach you how to do it that's going to make it work for you. It will work for you regardless. Just do it in the way that feels the best for you and be done. Well, I mean, you're never really done because you can't really turn manifesting off, but you know what I mean. And the 6th download I have for you is surrender. Surrender, surrender, surrender. I talked about this in my Dark Night of the Soul video as well, or podcast, as well as my Tips for Awakening podcast. Surrender. There is nothing that you need to do aside from let go and then take inspired action. You'll know when something feels right. And even if it leads you down a wild goose chase, as they call it, and you try out something you've never tried before, it will lead you down the right path. Everybody is so focused on this. Is this my purpose? Is this my right path? I need to tell you something. You're never off path. Every single little action you do, you have an infinite amount of potential and possibility. And because of that, no matter which path you go down, it's going to branch out into a different path. And it's not always going to be the path that we want that is in the highest alignment with us, but that doesn't make it wrong. When we fall on the path that is not necessarily in the highest alignment, that path is just showing us what isn't in alignment, and it's showing us the polarity so that we can move more into alignment and go in the direction that we want to go. So recognize even when there are snags or when things aren't perfect or when things don't go exactly as you had hoped, everything happens for a reason and everything is always working out for you. Literally, the universe is rigged in your favor. I believe that if you are watching my channel, you are somebody that is a light worker. You are somebody with a galactic family. You are somebody that needed one or all of these downloads today. And I'm not saying that because I want you to subscribe or I'm trying to gain popularity or anything of that regard. This is the work that I do, and I set precedent when I make these videos that the right people will come into these videos and be attracted to them for whatever reason. So that is all I have for you for these channeled messages. Thank you so very much for watching. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I don't know what's going on with Twitter with me right now, so you can follow it if you're able to, if it's open, but I don't really plan to use it right now, at least not when this is being filmed. My Instagram, please make sure to follow it if this kind of content is interesting to you. After Mars retrograde, you're going to start seeing a lot more content from me that really falls more on the teaching spectrum and things like this. So please make sure you do follow there if that is something that you feel like is in alignment with you. If not, then like don't, you know? And I will see you all in a future video. I love you so, so, so much. Please know that you are endlessly loved, truly. And that might be the only message you needed today, is to know that you are loved. Also, I think my neighbors are running their dirt bikes, so I'm really sorry if you can hear that. We're signing off right now anyways, but I love you all so much, and I will see you in a future video.